They found my Bible at 3 a.m. I heard my father's footsteps before I saw him, that deliberate, slow walk on the marble floors that always meant someone was about to be punished. The door to my bedroom didn't just open. It exploded. And there he stood, backlit by the hallway's golden chandelier, holding my Bible in one hand and a lighter in the other. His voice was calm. Too calm. "You have 1 hour to choose, Amira. Burn this book and beg Allah's forgiveness, or I will have you killed before sunrise." The flame from his lighter danced in the darkness. I watched it flicker, casting shadows across his face, a face I used to kiss goodnight as a little girl. Now it looked like stone. Like something ancient and merciless. I want you to understand something. When I say killed, I don't mean disowned or kicked out. In my family, in my world, honor killings aren't rumors. They're reality. My own cousin Noor was strangled by her uncle 3 years ago for texting a boy. They buried her in an unmarked grave. No one spoke her name again. That's what I was facing. Execution. By my own blood. But let me take you back to where this nightmare actually began, because my prison was built long before that night. It was just covered in gold. I grew up in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, in a palace that would make your jaw drop. 32 bedrooms. Marble imported from Italy. Fountains that ran with rosewater on special occasions. My closet was larger than most people's homes, filled with designer abayas worth thousands of dollars each. Black silk. Embroidered with crystals that caught the light like trapped stars. Every morning, I woke up to the call to prayer echoing across the city, that haunting sound that Muslims call beautiful. I used to think it was beautiful too. Now, when I hear it in my memory, it sounds like chains rattling. My father, Rashid Al-Mansour, is one of the most powerful men in the kingdom. Oil. Real estate. Political connections that reached into the royal family itself. When he walked into a room, men stood. When he spoke, people obeyed. No questions. No exceptions. I was his only daughter. His precious jewel, he used to call me. His Jawara. But jewels aren't loved. They're owned. Displayed. Controlled. My mother, Layla, was a shadow. Beautiful, heartbreakingly beautiful, but silent. I rarely saw her eyes because they were always lowered. In 23 years, I never once heard her disagree with my father. Not once. She moved through our palace like a ghost in expensive perfume, oud and jasmine that couldn't quite cover the smell of fear. I had everything, right? Private tutors. Drivers. Trips to Paris and London where I'd shop on Bond Street while my brothers prayed in hotel rooms. I attended the finest Islamic schools where we memorized the Quran and learned that paradise awaited the obedient. But here's what no one tells you about golden cages: you can't breathe in them. I couldn't choose my own clothes, not really. Black abaya in public, always. I couldn't drive. Couldn't travel alone. Couldn't speak to men outside my family. Couldn't laugh too loud, dream too big, question too much. My future was already written. I would marry whoever my father chose, bear children, and disappear into the same silent existence as my mother. Every night, I stood on my balcony overlooking the city lights of Riyadh and felt like I was suffocating. The air was thick. Heavy. like trying to breathe underwater. I was dying slowly, and no one could see it. Not even me. Not yet. I performed my prayers 5 times a day, forehead pressed to an ornate prayer rug, Arabic words spilling from my lips in perfect recitation. I fasted during Ramadan until my stomach ached. I wore my hijab with pride. I did everything right. And I felt nothing. Empty. Hollow. Like going through motions choreographed by someone else. Have you ever felt like that? Like you're playing a role in a script you never agreed to? Like everyone around you is convinced you're blessed, but inside you're screaming? That was me. Every single day. The first crack in my perfect facade came on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were when my father met with his business advisors, which meant I had a few hours of something close to freedom. I was 23 years old. My best friend Haya had just sent me a message. They've chosen your husband. I heard my father talking to yours. I'm so sorry. My hands went cold. The phone almost slipped from my fingers. I knew this day would come. Every Saudi daughter knows. But knowing and experiencing are 2 different things. This was real. Final. The walls were closing in. I didn't even know his name yet. Didn't know his face, his age, his cruelty or kindness. Didn't matter. My father had chosen. My life was over. I walked through our palace that day like a prisoner counting down to execution. The marble floors suddenly felt like ice under my bare feet. The gold fixtures looked like shackles. Every beautiful thing around me was a reminder, this is your cage. This will always be your cage. That night, alone in my room, I did something I'd never done before. I asked Allah a question I'd been too afraid to whisper. Is this really all there is? Silence. The same silence I'd heard my entire life. That vast, empty silence that Muslims call surrender but feels more like abandonment. I pulled my knees to my chest and stared at my reflection in the mirror across the room. Designer abaya. Perfect makeup. Dead eyes. I don't want this life, I whispered to no one. I don't want to disappear like my mother. I don't want to marry a stranger. I don't want to keep pretending. The city lights blinked outside my window. The call to prayer would sound again in a few hours. And I would pray again. And feel nothing again. Unless something changed. Something had to change. I just didn't know that within 3 weeks, I would find a book that was punishable by death. That I would encounter a man who claimed to be God. That my father would stand in my doorway with murder in his eyes. That I would have to choose between a Jesus I barely understood and everything I'd ever known. The golden cage was about to break open. But the cost would be blood. My father told me over breakfast. Not gently. Not with any pretense of asking my opinion. He simply stated it, the way you'd announce the weather or the price of oil, cold, factual, final. You will marry Abdulaziz Al-Qarni in 6 weeks. The contract has been signed. I was holding a piece of flatbread. It fell from my fingers onto the gold-trimmed plate. The sound echoed in the vast dining room, just me, my father, and my mother who sat frozen like a statue. I don't know him, Baba. My voice came out smaller than I intended. Childlike. My father didn't even look up from his newspaper. You will know him as his wife. That is sufficient. But His hand slammed down on the table. The tea glasses rattled. My mother flinched but said nothing. When my father finally looked at me, his eyes were black. Not brown, black. Like staring into an abyss. I'd seen those eyes before, when he dealt with business rivals who crossed him. When he disciplined my brothers. When he'd slapped a servant who spilled wine on his thigh. I had never been on the receiving end of that look. Not like this. You will not embarrass this family with Western ideas about love and choice, he said, each word precise as a blade. You are a daughter of the Al-Mansour family. You will obey. You will be grateful. And you will never speak of this again. Do you understand? What do you say to a man who has absolute power over your life? A man who could lock you in your room indefinitely, who could have you sent away, who could, if he truly believed his honor demanded it, end your life and face no consequences. You say what I said, yes, Baba. He nodded once, satisfied, and returned to his newspaper as if he'd just discussed the weather after all. My mother reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Just once. Quick. Her palm was sweating. When I looked at her, she shook her head almost imperceptibly. Don't fight this. You can't win. I excused myself and walked calmly to my bathroom. Closed the door. Turned on the shower so no one would hear. And then I screamed into a towel until my throat was raw. I found out more about Abdulaziz over the next few days. Pieces of information gathered from whispered conversations, from Haya's insider knowledge, from what I could dig up online with my VPN-protected phone. He was 47 years old. I was 23. He'd been married twice before. The first wife died in childbirth. The second was divorced for reasons no one would specify, which in Saudi Arabia usually means she was beaten or discarded for failing to produce sons. He was a religious man. Very religious. The kind who believed women shouldn't leave the house, shouldn't speak above a whisper, shouldn't exist beyond serving their husbands and bearing children. He had business dealings with my father, some kind of construction contract worth millions. I wasn't a bride. I was a business transaction. A signature on a deal sealed in female flesh. I looked him up on social media. There was only one photo, him in traditional dress, standing in front of the Kaaba in Mecca. His beard was long and graying. His expression was stern. He looked like someone who'd never smiled in his entire life. This was the man who would own me in 6 weeks. Who would have legal and religious authority over my body, my choices, my future. Who could hit me if I disobeyed and face no consequences, because that's what Sharia law permits. Discipline, they call it. I was going to be wife number 3 to a man old enough to be my father. And there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. Have you ever felt trapped so completely that your own skin feels like a prison? That's where I was. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I'd lie in my enormous bed surrounded by silk pillows and designer sheets, staring at the ceiling, feeling my future rushing toward me like a truck with no brakes. My brothers thought it was funny. Finally taming the wild one, Khalid said one evening, smirking at me across the majlis where the family gathered. He was 25, already married, already cruel like our father. Abdulaziz will teach you proper submission, Faisal added. He was younger than me, just 20, but somehow had more authority over my life than I did. You've always been too outspoken. Too rebellious. He'll fix that. They laughed. My father nodded approvingly. My mother stared at her hands. I wanted to scream. To throw something. To set the whole palace on fire and watch it burn. Instead, I smiled. Nodded. Played the role. But inside, something was shifting. Some part of me that had been sleeping my entire life was waking up. And it was angry. The worst part. My father genuinely believed he was being a good father. One evening, he called me into his office, a massive room filled with leather-bound Islamic texts, expensive carpets, and the smell of Arabic coffee and tobacco. He was signing papers when I entered. Didn't look up for a full minute. Making me wait. Establishing dominance. Finally, sit. I sat in the chair across from his desk. Felt like being called to the principal's office, except the principal had absolute power over whether you lived or died. You seem unhappy, he said, studying me with those dead eyes. I chose my words carefully. I'm adjusting to the news, Baba. Abdulaziz is a good man. Respected. Wealthy. Connected to the royal family. Any father would be honored to give his daughter to such a man. Give. Not arrange a marriage with. Give. Like I was property. A gift. A thing. I know, Baba. I'm grateful. The lie tasted like poison. He leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. Your problem, Amira, is that you've been influenced by Western corruption. These ideas of independence and choice, they destroy families. They destroy societies. Islam protects women by giving them structure. Order. A man to guide them. Yes, Baba. When you were born, I could have been disappointed. Sons bring honor. Daughters. He waved his hand dismissively. But I loved you. I gave you everything. Education. Luxury. Protection. And now, I'm giving you the greatest gift a father can give a daughter, a suitable husband. I stared at him. Really looked at him. At this man I'd feared and tried to please my entire life. And I realized, he genuinely didn't see me as a person. To him, I was an extension of his honor. A reflection of his reputation. A possession to be managed and traded. There was no cruelty in his eyes because he didn't think he was being cruel. He was just being a good Muslim father. Following the rules. Maintaining order. That realization was worse than if he'd been a monster. Because you can hate a monster. You can fight evil. But how do you fight someone who believes, truly believes, they're saving you? I understand, Baba, I said quietly. Thank you for caring about my future. He smiled. Actually smiled. The first time in weeks. Good girl. You're finally maturing. Your mother will help you prepare for the wedding. Make me proud, Amira. I will, Baba. I left his office and walked straight to my room. Locked the door. sat on the floor with my back against it. And something inside me broke. Not broke down, broke open. I couldn't do this. I couldn't marry Abdulaziz. I couldn't become my mother, a beautiful ghost haunting a golden palace. I couldn't spend the rest of my life performing prayers to a God who never answered, submitting to men who didn't see me as human. I couldn't. But what choice did I have? That night, I did something dangerous. I opened my laptop and searched for something I'd been curious about for months but too afraid to investigate: women who escaped Islam. The VPN protected me, or so I hoped. In Saudi Arabia, apostate content is monitored. Searching for ex-Muslim testimonies could get you arrested, imprisoned, or worse. But I didn't care anymore. I was desperate. I clicked on a video. A woman's face appeared. She looked Middle Eastern, maybe Egyptian or Syrian. She was smiling. Actually smiling. Free. "My name is Nadia," she said in Arabic. "And I want to tell you how Jesus Christ saved me from Islam." I should have closed the laptop. Should have cleared my history. Should have been terrified. Instead, I leaned closer to the screen. And I kept watching. I spent the next 3 days in what my family thought was pious preparation for marriage. They thought I was praying more, reading the Quran, becoming the submissive bride Abdulaziz expected. I was praying more desperately than I ever had in my life. But I wasn't getting answers. I was getting silence. Every morning at far, before dawn, I'd wake to the call to prayer echoing across Riyadh. I'd perform wudu, the ritual washing, letting cold water run over my hands, my face, my feet. I'd unfold my prayer rug facing Mecca and prostrate myself on the floor. "Allah, please," I whispered in Arabic, my forehead pressed against the soft fabric. "Please show me a way out. Please. I can't marry him. I can't live like this. If you are there, if you hear me, please answer me. Just once. Please." Silence. The kind of silence that's louder than any scream. The kind that presses down on your chest until you can't breathe. I'd recite Al-Fatiha, the opening chapter every Muslim memorizes as a child. My lips moved through the familiar Arabic words, "Guide us to the straight path." But even as I said them, I felt nothing. No presence. No comfort. No guidance. Just emptiness. Have you ever called out to someone you thought loved you, and heard nothing back? Not even an echo? That's what praying to Allah felt like. Like shouting into a void and being mocked by your own voice bouncing back. I increased my prayers. 5 times a day wasn't enough. I started praying 8, 9, 10 times. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, exhausted, and force myself to the prayer rug. Maybe I'm not doing it right, I thought. Maybe I'm not pure enough. Maybe I'm being punished for some sin I don't even remember. That's what they teach you in Islam. If Allah doesn't answer, it's always your fault. You're not faithful enough. Not obedient enough. Not worthy enough. So I tried harder. I started fasting. Not just Ramadan fasting, real fasting. I'd go days barely eating, thinking maybe if I proved my devotion, Allah would finally hear me. My mother noticed. Amira, you're getting too thin. The wedding is in 5 weeks. You need to look healthy. Healthy. Like a piece of livestock being prepared for market. I'm fasting for guidance, Ummi, I told her. To be a good wife. She smiled, pleased. That's good, Habibti. Very pious. Your husband will be blessed to have you. But inside, I was deteriorating. Not just physically, spiritually. Every unanswered prayer felt like another nail in a coffin I was building around my own soul. I read the Quran obsessively. Cover to cover. Looking for something. Anything. Some verse that would make sense of this crushing hopelessness. Some promise that Allah cared about my pain. I found rules. Lots of rules. How to wash. How to pray. How to divide inheritance. How men could marry up to 4 wives. How a woman's testimony was worth half a man's. How disobedient wives could be struck. But love? Personal relationship? God hearing the desperate cry of his daughter? Nothing. The Quran spoke about Allah being merciful, compassionate. 99 beautiful names. But they felt like descriptions of someone far away. Distant. Unreachable. A king who demanded obedience but offered no intimacy. I remembered something my Islamic studies teacher once said, we cannot know Allah personally. He is too great, too transcendent. We can only submit. Submit. That word again. The word that defined my entire existence. Submit to Allah. Submit to my father. Submit to my future husband. Submit, submit, submit until there's nothing left of you. But I didn't want to submit anymore. I wanted to be seen. Known. Loved. Was that too much to ask? Apparently, yes. On the 13th day after the announcement, I remember because I was counting down like a death row inmate, I had what I can only call a breakdown. It was 2 a.m. I just finished another desperate prayer session. My knees hurt from kneeling. My voice was hoarse from whispered pleading. And still, nothing. I stood up, walked to my balcony, and looked out over the city. Riyadh stretched out before me, glittering and modern and suffocating. Somewhere out there, Abdulaziz was sleeping, probably dreaming about his new young bride. Somewhere, my father was satisfied with his business deal. Somewhere, other girls like me were being sold and silenced. And Allah, if he existed, didn't care. I started crying. Not gentle tears. Violent, body-shaking sobs that came from somewhere deep and primal. I gripped the balcony railing so hard my knuckles turned white. Where are you? I screamed into the night. In Arabic first, then English. I've done everything. Everything you asked. I've prayed, I've fasted, I've obeyed, I've memorized your words. And you give me nothing. You give me silence. You give me a life of slavery and call it protection. The city lights blinked back at me, indifferent. I'd been drowning my entire life, I whispered, my voice breaking. And my God can't even hear me. That's when something shifted inside me. Some final thread of faith just snapped. If Allah was real and didn't care, what was the point? If Allah was real and thought my suffering was acceptable, was he even worthy of worship? And if he wasn't real, if Islam was just a system designed by men to control women, then I'd wasted 23 years of my life on a lie. Any option led to the same conclusion: I was alone. Completely, utterly alone. I thought about jumping. Just for a second. The thought flashed through my mind like lightning: 3 stories. Would it be enough? Would it be quick? I gripped the railing tighter. My breathing came in gasps. Please, I whispered one more time. To Allah. To anyone. To the universe itself. If there's anyone out there who actually cares, if there's any God who actually sees me, please. I'm begging you. Show me. Because I can't do this anymore. I can't. The wind picked up. The call to prayer would sound in a few hours. And I would pray again. And feel nothing again. Unless that woman in the video was right. Unless there was someone else. Someone who actually answered. I went back inside and opened my laptop. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. I searched for the video again. Nadia, the Egyptian woman who'd left Islam. I'd only watched 5 minutes before guilt and fear made me close it. This time, I watched the whole thing. She talked about praying to Allah for years, just like me. Feeling empty, just like me. Going through the motions of a religion that demanded everything but gave nothing back. And then she said something that made me pause the video. I tried to pray to Jesus just to prove he wasn't real. I said, if you're actually God, show me. Because Allah never has. And that night, her voice broke. Tears streamed down her face. That night, he came to me. He spoke to me. For the first time in my life, I felt loved. I stared at the screen. At this woman who looked free. Who looked alive in a way I'd never seen in any Muslim woman. You're going to think I'm crazy, she continued. But I'm telling you the truth. Jesus is real. He's not just a prophet like they taught us. He's God. And he loves you. Personally. Individually. He knows your name. He sees your pain. And he's waiting for you to call on him. I closed the laptop. My heart was racing. My room suddenly felt too small. Too hot. What she was suggesting was unthinkable. Jesus wasn't God, that was shirk, the unforgivable sin in Islam. Associating partners with Allah. The one thing that guaranteed hellfire. Everything in me had been trained to recoil from this. To reject it immediately. To seek refuge in Allah from such blasphemy. But Allah hadn't answered me. For 23 years, he hadn't answered. And I was so tired of silence. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my hands. They were trembling. This is insane, I whispered to myself. You can't do this. It's haram. It's shirk. You'll go to hell. But another voice, quieter, but somehow stronger, whispered back, what if hell is living like this forever? What if hell is marrying Abdulaziz and dying slowly over the next 50 years? What if hell is silence? I took a deep breath. And I did something that would change my life forever. I spoke into the darkness of my room. Quietly. Terrified. But desperate enough to try anything. Jesus, if you're real, if you're actually listening. I need help. I need someone to see me. I need. My voice cracked. I need to know I'm not alone. Please. If you're there, show me. I held my breath, waiting for lightning to strike me. For Allah's punishment. For something terrible to happen. Instead, I felt warmth. Just for a second. Like someone had wrapped an invisible blanket around my shoulders. Like the temperature of the room shifted. Like I wasn't alone anymore. It was so subtle I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it. Almost. I lay back on my bed, exhausted. Confused. Terrified of what I'd just done. But also, something else. Curious. For the first time in weeks, I fell asleep without crying. And that night, I had a dream that would destroy everything I thought I knew about God. The dream woke me at 3:17 a.m. I sat up in bed, gasping, my heart pounding so violently I thought it would break through my ribs. My sheets were soaked with sweat. The room was dark except for the faint glow of city lights through my curtains. But I could still see him. Not with my physical eyes, but somehow more real than anything I'd ever seen. A man in white. His face was. I can't fully describe it. Kind. Impossibly kind. Eyes that looked at me like he'd been searching for me my entire life and finally found me. He didn't speak in the dream. He just stood there with his hand extended toward me. Palm up. Inviting. Not demanding. And behind him was light. Not harsh, soft. Warm. The kind of light that doesn't hurt to look at but somehow illuminates everything. I could see myself in that light, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't ashamed. When I woke up, my face was wet with tears. But I wasn't sad. I was. I don't even have words for it. Undone. Cracked open. Like something had reached into my chest and touched a part of me that had been dead my entire life. Was that you, Jesus? I whispered into the darkness. No audible answer. But that warmth again. That presence. I grabbed my phone. 3:17 a.m. Everyone was asleep. I had maybe 2 hours before far prayer, before the house would start waking up. I opened my laptop and searched with trembling fingers, how to get a Bible in Saudi Arabia. Listen to me carefully. If you've never lived in a country where owning a Bible is illegal, you can't understand the terror of what I was doing. This wasn't like downloading a book in the West. This was risking everything. In Saudi Arabia, Bibles are contraband. You can't buy them in stores. You can't order them online and have them shipped. If customs finds one in your luggage when you return from travel, they confiscate it and investigate you. If you're caught with Christian materials, you can be arrested for attempting to convert Muslims. And if you're a Saudi national caught converting, that's apostasy. Punishable by death. I knew all of this. And I searched anyway. I found forums. Secret networks. Ex-Muslims and underground Christians communicating in code. One thread mentioned a digital Bible app disguised as a calculator. Another talked about online PDFs hosted on encrypted sites. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely click the links. I found a website, plain, basic, no images to reduce suspicion. Bible Gateway, it said. Translations in dozens of languages, including Arabic. I clicked on it. Held my breath, half expecting my internet to be cut off, for someone to knock on my door, for everything to explode. Instead, text appeared on my screen. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. John chapter 1, verse 1. I stared at those words. They were in Arabic, my language, but they felt foreign. Dangerous. Like holding a live grenade. The Quran said Jesus, Isa, was just a prophet. A good man. Born of Mary, yes. Performed miracles, yes. But just a messenger. Not divine. Never divine. But this book claimed he was God. The Word made flesh. Everything in my Islamic training screamed at me to close the laptop. To repent. To ask Allah's forgiveness for even reading such blasphemy. But I couldn't stop. Something pulled me forward. I scrolled down, reading chapter 1 of John. Then chapter 2. Then 3. And then I hit verse 16 of chapter 3, and I swear, it felt like someone had reached through the screen and grabbed my heart. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. I read it again. And again. And again. God so loved the world. Not Allah demands submission. Not Allah will judge you. Not Allah is watching to punish you if you disobey. God loved. I'd spent 23 years memorizing verses about Allah's power, Allah's judgment, Allah's requirements. 99 names describing his attributes. But never, not once, had I read that Allah loved me personally. In Islam, Allah's love is conditional. You earn it through obedience. You maintain it through perfection. You lose it through sin. It's transactional. Distant. Always uncertain. But this verse said God loved the world so much he gave his Son. Not for perfect people. Not for people who earned it. For everyone. For me. Tears streamed down my face. I pressed my hand over my mouth to keep from sobbing out loud. I spent the next 2 hours reading. I devoured the Gospel of John like a starving person finding food. The call to far prayer sounded. I ignored it for the first time in my life. My family would be stirring soon, but I couldn't stop. Jesus spoke differently than any prophet I'd ever read about. He didn't just give rules. He invited relationship. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Rest. I'd never had rest in my entire life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Bold. Shocking. Either absolutely true or absolutely insane. I have called you friends. Friends. Not slaves. Not servants. Friends. There was a knock on my door. I jumped, slammed the laptop shut, my heart in my throat. Amira? My mother's voice. You missed far. Are you ill? I'm fine, I called out, my voice shaky. Just didn't sleep well. I'll pray now. Hurry. Your father wants to see you at breakfast. I heard her footsteps retreat. I exhaled, dizzy with adrenaline. I hid the laptop under my mattress, ridiculous, but I wasn't thinking clearly. Then I performed a quick, distracted prayer. My mind wasn't on Mecca. It was on the words I'd just read. God so loved the world. Over the next week, I became two people. By day, I was Amira Al-Mansour, obedient daughter, future bride of Abdulaziz. I attended meetings with the wedding planner my mother hired. I smiled at fabric samples for my wedding abaya, white and gold, traditional and suffocating. I nodded as my father discussed the marriage contract details. But by night, I was someone else. Someone hungry. Someone discovering a book that felt like it was written specifically for me. I read the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. I read them in Arabic, sometimes cross-referencing with English to make sure I understood correctly. And the more I read about Jesus, the less sense Islam made. Jesus healed people. Not to show power, to show compassion. He touched lepers no one else would touch. He spoke to women, actually spoke to them, valued them, taught them. He defended a woman caught in adultery when religious men wanted to stone her. He said, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." Mercy. Not just law. He claimed to be God, not in arrogant ways, but in intimate ways. I and the Father are one. Before Abraham was, I am. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And then, the cross. I'd always been taught that Jesus didn't actually die on the cross. The Quran says Allah wouldn't allow his prophet to be humiliated like that. Someone else was substituted at the last minute, and Jesus was taken up to heaven. But the Bible said he died. Willingly. Brutally. Taking the punishment for sins he didn't commit. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Why would someone do that? Why would God himself come down, take human form, and die? I found the answer in Romans chapter 5, verse 8. I'd moved beyond the Gospels by then, consuming everything I could. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. While we were still sinners. Not after we cleaned ourselves up. Not after we proved ourselves worthy. While we were broken and messy and lost. He loved us enough to die for us anyway. I sat on my bathroom floor at 2 a.m., reading that verse on my phone, and I sobbed so hard I thought I'd break. This was the God I'd been searching for my entire life. Not a distant judge demanding perfection I could never achieve. But a Father who loved me enough to rescue me himself. Allah demanded I climb to him through good works, 5 pillars, rituals, rules, and even then, no guarantee of paradise. The Quran says Allah loves those who do good, but even Muhammad didn't know if he'd make it to Jannah. But Jesus? Jesus came down to me. Reached into my pit. Offered his hand. And he promised that everyone who believed in him would have eternal life. Not maybe. Not if you're good enough. Guaranteed. Because he already paid the price. I need you to understand something. This discovery didn't make me happy at first. It terrified me. Because if this was true, if Jesus really was God, if the Bible was true, then everything I'd been taught was a lie. Islam was a lie. The Quran was a lie. Muhammad was a false prophet. And my family, my culture, my entire society was built on that lie. If I accepted Jesus, I wouldn't just be choosing a different religion. I'd be committing apostasy. I'd be betraying my family. I'd be worthy of death according to Sharia law. The penalty for leaving Islam isn't symbolic. Muhammad himself said, "Whoever changes his religion, kill him." That's not radical interpretation, that's mainstream Islamic teaching. If my family found out, I wouldn't just be disowned. I'd be in genuine danger. But here's the thing, and I'm tearing up right now just remembering this, I couldn't unknow what I'd discovered. You can't read about Jesus and go back to ritual Islam. You can't experience that love and return to fear-based submission. It's like being in a dark room your entire life, and someone turns on the light. You can close your eyes, but you know the light exists now. You've seen it. I'd seen him. In my dream. In his words. In the truth that was wrecking and remaking me simultaneously. And I knew with a certainty I'd never felt about anything, that Jesus was real. The question wasn't whether I believed anymore. The question was, what was I going to do about it? For weeks until the wedding. For weeks until I became Abdulaziz's property. For weeks to decide if I was going to follow truth no matter the cost, or bury what I'd found and live a lie forever. I sat on my bed, holding my phone with the Bible app open, staring at John 8 verse 32. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Jesus, I whispered into the darkness. I think I believe. But I'm so scared. They'll kill me. My own father will kill me. How do I do this? How do I choose you when it costs everything? No audible answer. But that warmth again. That presence that had become so familiar over the past week. And a sense, deep in my spirit, of words I didn't hear with my ears but felt in my soul. Trust me. I've never lost anyone I've called by name. I took a deep breath and made a decision that would change my life forever. I was going to follow Jesus. No matter what it cost. I just didn't know how high the price would actually be. 3 days later, my father found the Bible. Not the digital one, I'd been too careful with my phone, always clearing history, always using private browsing, always deleting the app when I wasn't using it. No, he found the physical one. The one I hadn't even known existed in our house. Let me back up. Because this is where things became undeniably supernatural. Where Jesus stopped being words on a screen and became real. Present. Powerful. It was a Thursday evening. 26 days until the wedding. I was in my room, door locked, reading the book of Acts on my phone. Reading about the apostles being thrown in prison for preaching about Jesus, and how God sent an angel to break them out. If you can send angels for them, I prayed quietly, can you send help for me too? I don't know what to do. The wedding is coming. I don't want to marry Abdulaziz. I want to follow you. But I'm trapped. There was a soft knock at my door. Not my father's heavy knock, lighter. Familiar. Amira? My mother's voice. Can I come in? I quickly closed the Bible app and hid my phone. Yes, Ummi. She entered, and I immediately knew something was wrong. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. In her hands, she held something wrapped in a black scarf. She closed the door behind her. Locked it. Turned to face me. And then she unwrapped the scarf. A Bible. Old. Worn. The cover was leather, cracked with age. Arabic text on the spine. My heart stopped. Literally stopped. I couldn't breathe. Ummi, what? She pressed a finger to her lips. We don't have much time. Your father is at a business dinner. Your brothers are out. Her voice was shaking. I need to tell you something I should have told you years ago. She sat on my bed, still holding the Bible like it was made of glass. Or dynamite. When I was your age, she began, her voice barely above a whisper, before I married your father, I worked as a translator for a foreign medical charity. They were Christians. Americans. And one of them, a nurse named Sarah, she gave me this. She held up the Bible. My mother. My silent, obedient, perfect Muslim mother. Had owned a Bible for over 25 years. I never told anyone, she continued. I hid it. Moved it from place to place in this palace where no one would find it. And I. Her voice broke. I read it. At night. When your father was traveling. When I was alone. And Amira, I believed it. Tears were streaming down her face now. I believed Jesus was who he said he was. I believed he loved me. I believed he died for me. But I was too afraid to do anything about it. Too afraid of your father. Too afraid of losing my family. Too afraid to pay the price. So I buried it. I performed the prayers. I wore the hijab. I played the role. And I'd been dying inside for 25 years. She grabbed my hands, her grip desperate. I see you, Habibti. I see what's happening to you. The way you're searching. The way you're breaking. And when you missed far last week, and I saw your face, I knew. I knew you'd found him too. My whole body was trembling. Ummi, don't marry Abdulaziz. Her voice was fierce now. Urgent. Don't make my mistake. Don't trade truth for safety. I did that, and it's destroyed me. I've watched your father control you, just like he controls me. I've stayed silent when I should have screamed. I've let him sell you like property. And I hate myself for it. She pressed the Bible into my hands. This is yours now. Read it. Really read it. And if Jesus calls you, when Jesus calls you, follow him. No matter what it costs. Because the cost of not following him is worse. I'm proof of that. I stared at the Bible in my hands. It was heavy. Real. So different from the digital words on a screen. This was physical. Tangible. Dangerous. If Baba finds this. I know. My mother's eyes were steel. but I can't watch you die the way I've died. I won't. If your father discovers it, I'll tell him it's mine. I'll take the punishment. No. I'd been a coward for 25 years, Amira. Let me be brave for once. Let me protect my daughter the way I should have protected her all along. She stood up, kissed my forehead, something she hadn't done in years, and walked to the door. She paused, her hand on the doorknob, and looked back at me. His name is Yeshua in Arabic. Jesus. And he's been waiting for you your whole life. Don't make him wait anymore. Then she was gone. I sat on my bed, holding this forbidden book, and I started to shake. Not from fear, from something bigger. Something that felt like the ground was shifting beneath me. My mother. My silent, trapped, voiceless mother. Had been secretly believing in Jesus for 25 years. I wasn't alone. I'd never been alone. That night, I read the Bible she gave me. The physical act of turning pages, of seeing handwritten notes in the margins, my mother's notes, made everything more real. Next to John 10 verse 10, she'd written in tiny Arabic script, "He came to give life. Islam only gave me death." Next to Matthew 11 verse 28, she'd written, "I am so tired. Come, Jesus. Please come." Next to Psalm 34 verse 18, she'd written, "Does he really see the brokenhearted? Does he see me?" My mother's secret pain, hidden in the margins of a forbidden book. I wept over those pages. Over her loneliness. Over her courage in giving me what she'd been too afraid to fully embrace herself. And then I did something I'd been too afraid to do until that moment. I got down on my knees, not facing Mecca, not on a prayer rug, not performing ritual, and I spoke to Jesus like he was actually there. Jesus, I don't know how to do this. I don't know the right words. I'm not even sure I'm doing this correctly. But I believe you're real. I believe you died for me. I believe you love me. And my voice cracked. I give you my life. All of it. The wedding, the future, everything. I can't do this alone anymore. I need you. I surrender. I'm yours. Silence. I waited. Part of me expected lightning. Part of me expected nothing. What happened instead was impossible. The air in my room changed. I don't mean the temperature, though it did feel warmer. I mean the quality of the air. Like it became thicker. Heavier. Charged with presence. And then light. Not from any physical source. Not from my lamp or my window. Light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Soft. Golden. Alive. I looked up, terrified and mesmerized at the same time. And he was there. I can't explain this to you in a way that will make you believe me if you don't want to. I can only tell you what happened. Jesus stood in my room. Or appeared. Or manifested. I don't have the vocabulary for it. He wasn't physical the way you and I are physical, but he was more real than anything I'd ever experienced. He looked, the only word I have is beautiful. But not in a pretty way. In a glorious way. In a way that made me want to fall on my face and also run into his arms simultaneously. His eyes. I'll never forget his eyes. They were kind, devastatingly kind. Like every moment of my life was known to him, every pain was felt by him, and he still looked at me with nothing but love. He wore white, simple, pure. His hands were at his sides. And I could see them. The scars. In his palms. Where the nails had been. He died. He actually died. For me. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. I was on my knees, trembling, tears pouring down my face. And then he spoke. Not in Arabic or English. In something deeper, like his words bypassed my ears and went straight to my spirit. But I understood them perfectly. Amira. Beloved. I have called you by name, and you are mine. His voice. How do I describe it? Powerful enough to shake mountains, but gentle enough to heal wounds. Authoritative but intimate. Like thunder wrapped in silk. Do not be afraid. I have chosen you. I have loved you before you were born. I have waited for you to come home. Jesus. I managed to whisper. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I took so long. I'm sorry There is nothing to forgive. You are here now. That is all that matters. He moved closer, or maybe the distance between us just ceased to exist. Space worked differently in his presence. You will face fire, Amira. Your father will discover your faith. He will threaten you. He will try to destroy you. But I will be with you. Every moment. Every breath. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I'm so scared, I sobbed. They'll kill me. My own family will kill me. They cannot touch what I have sealed. Your life is hidden in me now. No weapon formed against you will prosper. Trust me. I have already won this battle. He reached out his hand, the scarred one, toward me. Palm up. Inviting. Just like in my dream. Will you follow me? Even through fire? I stared at his hand. At the scar that proved his love. At the cost he paid for me. And I reached out and took it. The moment my hand touched his, or maybe passed through his, I'm still not sure, light exploded through my body. Not painful. Radiant. Like every cell in my body was being filled with liquid gold. Like I was being remade from the inside out. Peace. Overwhelming, crushing, beautiful peace. The kind of peace I'd been searching for my entire life through rituals and rules and desperate prayers to a God who never answered. But this God, this Jesus, he answered. He came. He touched me. You are baptized in my spirit now, he said. You are my daughter. My child. My friend. And I will give you a new name, freed one. Because you are no longer a slave to fear. You are free. I was sobbing now. Full body, can't breathe sobbing. But it wasn't grief. It was joy. Pure, untainted, impossible joy. I love you, Amira, he said. And the way he said it, it wasn't like how people say I love you casually. It was a declaration. A promise. A truth that could hold the weight of the universe. I love you with an everlasting love. Nothing can separate you from it. Not death, not life, not angels or demons, not your father, not your culture, not your fear. Nothing. You are mine forever. And then, just as suddenly as he appeared, he began to fade. Not leaving, I could still feel him, but withdrawing his visible presence. His last words echoed in my spirit. When the fire comes, call my name. I will answer. I always answer those who cry out to me. Remember, I am with you always. To the very end. And then he was gone. But the light remained. Not the golden supernatural light, but a light inside me. In my chest. In my soul. Like someone had lit a candle that could never be blown out. I stayed on the floor for what felt like hours. I don't know how long. Time didn't make sense anymore. All I knew was that everything had changed. I wasn't the same person who'd knelt down. That Amira, scared, trapped, dying, was gone. I was new. Born again. Free. And whatever came next, whatever fire, whatever persecution, whatever cost, I could face it. Because I wasn't facing it alone anymore. Jesus was real. Not theory. Not religion. Not distant and untouchable. Real. Present. Mine. And I was his. I opened my eyes and looked at the Bible still lying on my bed. The pages were open to Isaiah 43. I don't remember opening it there. But there it was. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you, I have called you by name, you are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned, the flames will not set you ablaze. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. Fire. He'd mentioned fire. The Bible mentioned fire. I didn't know then that in exactly 3 days, my father would discover my Bible and threaten to burn it, and me, alive. But Jesus knew. He'd already seen it. And he'd already promised to be with me in it. I closed the Bible and held it against my chest. Whatever comes, I whispered, I'm yours. Forever. Take me through the fire, Jesus. I trust you. Outside my window, the call to prayer sounded for Isha, the night prayer. For the first time in my life, I didn't respond to it. I wasn't a Muslim anymore. I was a Christian. A follower of Jesus. A daughter of the living God. And in 3 days, everyone would know it. I should have hidden the Bible better. That's what I told myself later, in the endless hours of replaying that night. I should have been smarter. More careful. Should have put it somewhere my father would never look. But the truth is, I don't think there was anywhere in that palace he wouldn't have eventually found it. When God wants something revealed, it gets revealed. Even if it costs everything. It was 3 days after Jesus appeared in my room. 3 days of walking around in a daze, feeling like I was glowing from the inside out. 3 days of looking at my family and seeing them differently, not as my owners, but as people who didn't know they were slaves. 3 days of silently praying for them, even as I knew what was coming. I'd been reading the Bible every night. Not hiding anymore. Not really. Some part of me knew it was only a matter of time. I fell asleep that night with it under my pillow. Stupid. Reckless. But I wanted it close. I needed the physical reminder that what had happened was real, that Jesus was real, that I wasn't insane, that everything had actually changed. I woke to my door exploding open. 3 a.m. The worst hour. When the world is darkest and cruelty feels most natural. My father stood in the doorway, backlit by the hallway chandelier. My brothers Khalid and Faisal flanked him on either side. All three of them looked like they were going to an execution. Mine. In my father's hand, my Bible. Time slowed down. I saw everything with horrible clarity. The way his jaw was clenched. The vein pulsing in his temple. The absolute absence of mercy in his eyes. Behind them, my mother. Silent. Tears streaming down her face. She mouthed something to me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She must have known. Must have heard the commotion and known what he'd found. Get up. My father's voice was ice. Death. Finality. I stood. My legs were shaking, but I stood. I was wearing my nightgown, modest, long-sleeved, but I felt naked. Exposed. Vulnerable. He held up the Bible like it was a dead rat. What is this? Not a question. An accusation. A verdict already decided. It's a Bible, Baba. My voice came out steadier than I expected. I know what it is. He roared. The sound echoed through the palace. Somewhere downstairs, I heard a servant gasp. I'm asking why you have it. Why it was under your pillow. Why you have defiled this house with Christian blasphemy. Khalid stepped forward. She's an apostate. She's reading forbidden texts. She needs to be punished. Beaten, Faisal added. His eyes were gleaming. He was enjoying this. It's your right, Baba. She's brought shame to our family. My father looked at me. Really looked at me. And I saw the moment he knew. The moment he understood that this wasn't curiosity or rebellion. You believe it. His voice dropped to a whisper. Somehow more terrifying than the shouting. You believe this lie about Jesus being God. Don't you? Every instinct screamed at me to deny it. To lie. To do whatever it took to survive. But Jesus had called me freed one. And free people don't lie to save themselves. I lifted my chin. Looked my father in the eyes. Yes. Silence. Absolute silence. My mother let out a small sob. Khalid swore under his breath. Faisal looked shocked, like he hadn't actually expected me to admit it. My father's face went from rage to something worse. Something cold. Calculated. Dead. You are no longer my daughter, he said quietly. You are apostate. A traitor to Islam. A disgrace to the Al-Mansur name. And Islamic law is clear about what happens to apostates. He pulled something from his pocket. A lighter. Gold-plated. Expensive. The one he used for his cigars. You will burn this book. Right now. In front of all of us. You will renounce this filth. You will beg Allah's forgiveness. And you will marry Abdulaziz in 23 days as planned. He flicked the lighter. The flame danced. Or I will burn this book, and then I will have you killed. An honor killing. To cleanse our family's name. Rashid, please, my mother tried to step forward. Khalid grabbed her arm. Yanked her back. This doesn't concern you, woman. Unless you want to be questioned about where she got this book. My mother went white. Silent. My father stepped closer to me. So close I could smell the tobacco on his breath. The expensive cologne that used to make me feel safe as a child. Choose, Amira. Burn the book and live. Or die with it. 23 years of training told me to submit. To bow. To burn the book and survive. But Jesus had walked through fire for me. Had carried a cross. Had let them nail him to wood and pierce his side. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned, the flames will not set you ablaze. I thought of my mother's notes in the margins. 25 years of secret faith. 25 years of cowardice she regretted. She begged me not to make her mistake. I thought of Nadia in the video. Of ex-Muslims around the world who'd chosen truth over safety. Who'd paid the price and said it was worth it. I thought of Jesus standing in my room. His scarred hands. His promise, I will be with you. I will never leave you. I took a deep breath. No. My father's eyes widened. What did you say? No. Louder this time. Stronger. I won't burn it. Jesus is real. He's God. He died for me and rose again. And I'd rather die with the truth than live with a lie. My father's hand shot out. He grabbed my throat. Slammed me against the wall. The back of my head cracked against plaster. Stars exploded in my vision. You dare. Let her go. My mother screamed. Khalid struggled to hold her back. My father's hand tightened. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't speak. Could only stare into his black, empty eyes. You will watch this burn, he hissed. He released my throat. I collapsed, gasping. And then you will burn with it. He threw the Bible onto my bed. Held the lighter to its pages. And that's when it happened. The miracle. The flame touched the page. I saw it. We all saw it. The lighter's flame was bright and hot and real. But the page didn't catch fire. My father tried again. Held the flame directly against the Bible's cover. Held it there for 5 seconds. 10. 15. Nothing. The Bible didn't burn. Physically impossible. Paper burns. Leather burns. Old, dry materials catch fire instantly. But this book, this specific book, wouldn't ignite. My father's hand started shaking. He flicked the lighter off, then on again. Touched the flame to his own sleeve, it immediately started smoking. He patted it out and tried the Bible again. Nothing. What is this? Khalid whispered. He looked terrified. Faisal backed toward the door. This is black magic. Sorcery. We need to. Shut up. My father roared. But even he looked shaken. His hands were trembling. He grabbed the Bible. Carried it to my bathroom. We all followed, my brothers, my mother, me stumbling behind, my throat still aching. He turned on the sink. Doused the Bible in water, trying to make it catch fire somehow, his logic fracturing. Then he pulled out his phone. Called someone. Bring gasoline. Now. To my daughter's room. Now. We waited in terrible silence. My father held the Bible like it was cursed. My brothers whispered to each other in Arabic, jinn, demons, sorcery. But my mother looked at me. And I saw it in her eyes. Wonder. Recognition. Faith. She knew this wasn't demons. This was God. 10 minutes later, one of our servants arrived with a canister of gasoline. My father snatched it, poured half of it on the Bible right there in my bathroom sink. This will burn, he said. More to himself than to us. This will burn. He lit the lighter. Dropped it onto the gasoline-soaked Bible. The gasoline ignited instantly. Blue flames whooshed up. The acrid smell of burning fuel filled the bathroom. But underneath the flames, the Bible remained intact. The fire burned around it. Above it. The gasoline burned. But the book itself, the pages, the cover, the spine, didn't even char. It was like watching a bush burn without being consumed. Like Moses on the mountain. Like God saying, I am here. I am real. And I protect what is mine. This isn't possible, Khalid whispered. This violates the laws of physics. This. The flames died down as the gasoline burned away. My father reached into the sink. The Bible was warm but not hot. Not damaged. Not even singed. He dropped it like it had shocked him. Everyone in that bathroom knew we'd witnessed something impossible. Something supernatural. My father turned to me. His face was ashen. His hands were shaking. What have you done? His voice cracked. What kind of jinn have you summoned? What curse? It's not a curse, Baba. My voice was steady now. Strong. Because I knew that Jesus was in this room. I couldn't see him, but I felt him. Standing between me and my father. Protecting me. It's God. The real God. Jesus. He's protecting his word. He's showing you he's real. Blasphemy. Faisal spat. But even he looked uncertain. Scared. My mother spoke then. Quietly. But in the silent bathroom, her words carried weight. Rashid. The book won't burn. You've tried everything. Flame, gasoline, everything. She looked at him with something I'd never seen in her eyes before, defiance. Maybe you should ask why. Be silent, woman. No. She stepped forward. Stood next to me. Took my hand. I've been silent for 25 years. Not anymore. This is a sign. Allah doesn't do signs like this. You know the Quran says Allah doesn't physically intervene this way. But Jesus. Her voice broke. Jesus does. Because he loves us. He came for us. He died for us. And he's here right now, protecting our daughter. You're both insane, Khalid said. But he didn't sound convinced. He sounded terrified. My father stood there, staring at the Bible in the sink. At his own hands. At me. At my mother. And for the first time in my life, I saw my father powerless. He'd tried to burn the book. Failed. Tried to intimidate me into submission. Failed. Tried to maintain control of his family, his honor, his world. And Jesus had simply said, "No. She's mine. You can't have her. Get out," my father finally said. His voice was hollow. Everyone out. Now. My brothers fled. My mother hesitated, squeezed my hand once, then left. Just me and my father. And the Bible that wouldn't burn. "What do you want from me?" he asked. Not angry anymore. Just defeated. Confused. "I can't let you stay here. You're apostate. If anyone finds out, they'll come for our entire family. The religious police, the government, do you understand what you've done?" "I understand, Baba." And I did. I'd signed my own exile. Maybe my own death warrant. Abdulaziz won't marry an apostate. The wedding is cancelled. Your dowry, your future, gone. I know. You'll be disowned. Cut off. No money. No protection. No family. I know. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Or maybe seeing me as a person for the first time, instead of property. "Was it worth it?" he asked quietly. "This Jesus. Is he worth losing everything?" I thought of Jesus in my room. His scarred hands. His voice calling me beloved. The peace that had flooded me. The freedom. "Yes," I whispered. "He's worth everything. Because he gave everything for me first." My father picked up the Bible. Dried it with a towel. Stared at it. "I don't understand this," he said. "I don't understand you. And I can't protect you anymore." He handed me the Bible. "You have 3 days. Pack what you can carry. Then you leave. I'll tell everyone you're visiting relatives. It will buy you time to disappear. Baba. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this out of love. I'm doing this because." He trailed off. Looked at the Bible again. Because something protected that book. And I'm not foolish enough to fight something that can defy the laws of nature itself. He walked to the door. Paused. "Your mother helped you, didn't she?" The Bible came from her. I didn't answer. Wouldn't betray her. He nodded. "I thought so. I'll deal with her separately." His voice hardened. 3 days, Amira. Then you're no longer an El Mansour. You're nothing. He left. I stood alone in my bathroom, holding the Bible that had survived fire and gasoline and my father's rage. And I started laughing. Not hysterical laughter, joyful laughter. Free laughter. Jesus had done it. He'd protected me. He'd shown his power. He'd made a way when there was no way. I was being exiled. Disowned. Cut off from everything I'd ever known. And I'd never felt more free in my entire life. I held the Bible to my chest and whispered, "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." 3 days. 3 days to escape Saudi Arabia. To find a way to freedom. I had no plan. No resources. No idea where to go or how to do it. But I had Jesus. And his promise, "I will be with you. Always." That would have to be enough. I had 72 hours to disappear. 3 days to figure out how to escape one of the most restrictive countries on earth. 3 days to leave behind everything I'd ever known. 3 days before my father's temporary mercy expired and I became a fugitive in my own home. I didn't sleep that first night. Couldn't. My mind was racing, my body still flooded with adrenaline from the confrontation. I sat on my bed holding the Bible that wouldn't burn, turning its pages, looking for, what? Instructions? A map? Divine GPS coordinates? Instead, I found Psalm 91. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. And verse 11, for He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Angels. God could send angels. He'd done it for the apostles in prison. Could He do it for a Saudi girl trapped in a palace? Jesus, I whispered into the darkness. I don't know how to do this. I don't have a passport, my father controls it. I don't have money of my own. I can't drive. I can't leave the house without a male guardian. I'm trapped by 1,000 rules and walls. I need an angel. I need a miracle. Again. That warmth. That presence. He was listening. I grabbed my phone and started researching. Even that was dangerous, internet monitoring in Saudi Arabia is sophisticated. But I used every security measure I knew, VPN, encrypted browsers, private windows. I searched, how to escape Saudi Arabia as a woman. Asylum for Saudi apostates. Countries that accept ex-Muslim refugees. The information was terrifying and sparse. Women trying to escape Saudi Arabia often failed. They were caught at airports, dragged back home, sometimes killed. The government tracked family members. Male guardianship laws meant women needed permission to travel. And if you were fleeing because of religious persecution, the risk multiplied exponentially. But I found stories of women who'd made it. Rahaf Muhammad, she'd escaped through Thailand, locked herself in a hotel room, and live-streamed her plea for asylum until the UN intervened. Dina Ali Loslum, she'd tried to escape but was caught, dragged off a plane screaming. No one knew what happened to her after that. Success was possible. But so was death. I needed help. Real, practical help. And there was only one person I could think of who might understand. Hey, My best friend since childhood. She knew I was different, had probably suspected I was questioning Islam. But she didn't know about Jesus. Didn't know about the Bible. Didn't know I was about to be disowned. I texted her at 4 a.m., "Can you come over tomorrow? Urgent. Please." She responded within minutes, "What's wrong? Are you okay? I'll explain tomorrow. Please. Don't tell anyone you're coming. Okay. I'll be there at noon. Be careful, Habibti." Noon. 12 hours. I used that time to plan. First, inventory what I could take. One suitcase. That's all I could carry without arousing suspicion. I packed clothes, modest but not overtly Islamic. Hijabs I could discard once I was free. My phone and laptop. Chargers. The Bible. What little jewelry I owned that my mother had given me, I could sell it if needed. My university certificates, proof of education. Photos of my mother and me from when I was young, when she still smiled. Second, money. I had almost nothing. My father controlled all family finances. I had a debit card connected to an account he monitored. If I withdrew a large amount, he'd know immediately. But I had something else. Hidden in my closet, a designer handbag worth about $15,000. A gift from my father for my last birthday. I'd never used it. It felt obscene to carry something that expensive. But now it was survival. I could sell it once I escaped. It would buy me time. Third, documentation. My passport was locked in my father's office safe. I knew the combination, I'd watched him open it hundreds of times. But I couldn't access it without getting caught. Not yet. Fourth, destination. Where could I go? Not neighboring countries. Saudi Arabia had agreements with most Gulf states for extradition. Not Muslim-majority countries where apostasy was also punished. I needed somewhere that granted asylum to religious refugees. Somewhere far from my father's reach. Somewhere with an ex-Muslim community that could help. I found a Reddit forum for ex-Muslims. Posted anonymously, "Need urgent help. Saudi woman. Christian convert. Being forced to leave. Where can I go?" Responses came within an hour. Canada. Strong asylum laws. Ex-Muslim community in Toronto. UK. Apply through UNHCR. Don't try to enter illegally. Australia. Long process but safe once you're in. All required me to get out of Saudi Arabia first. That was the impossible part. And then I saw a private message from a username, Saudi Sister 47. I escaped 2 years ago. I know how to do this. Call me. She included a number with a UK country code. My hands shook as I dialed. International call. My father would see it on the phone bill. But he'd already disowned me. What did it matter now? She answered on the second ring. Her voice was Arabic, accent Saudi, but she spoke quickly in English. Safer. You're the girl from Reddit? The Christian convert? Yes, I whispered. I have 3 days. My father is kicking me out, but he'll track me. I don't have my passport. I don't know how to. Listen to me carefully, she interrupted. Her voice was calm, steady, like she'd done this before. You can do this. But you need to be smart and you need to move fast. Do exactly what I tell you. For the next hour, she walked me through a plan. A terrifying, dangerous, utterly insane plan. But it was the only plan I had. Haya arrived at noon, just as promised. My mother let her in, my mother who'd been silent since that night, who'd avoided looking at me, who I knew was terrified my father would discover her role in my conversion. We went to my room. I locked the door. Amira, what's going on? You look. I'm leaving Saudi Arabia. In 2 days. And I need your help. I told her everything. The Bible. Jesus appearing in my room. The confrontation with my father. The book that wouldn't burn. My impending exile. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You converted to Christianity? Her voice was barely a whisper. Do you know what that means? What they'll do to you? I know. And you saw Jesus? Like, physically saw him? Yes. She stood up. Paced. Sat down. Stood up again. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. Your father will kill you. Not metaphorically, literally kill you. He's giving me 3 days to disappear. And you have a plan? Money? A passport? Working on it. That's why I need you. She looked at me for a long moment. Then, what do you need? I could have cried with relief. Your ID. Just for a few hours. In Saudi Arabia, women's IDs all show faces covered by hijab. If you're not looking closely, most of us look similar, same coverings, same general features. Haya and I were close enough in age and build. You're going to use my ID to get, what? Your passport? To get into places I shouldn't be. To move around without a guardian. It's just for backup. In case I need it. Amira, if I'm caught helping an apostate. I know. I know what I'm asking. And if you can't do it, I understand. But Haya, you're my only friend. My only hope. She closed her eyes. Took a deep breath. Then pulled her ID card from her purse and handed it to me. 2 hours. That's all you get. Then I need it back. I hugged her. Held her tight. Thank you. Thank you. I think you're insane, she whispered. But I also think, maybe you're the bravest person I've ever met. If this Jesus of yours is real, ask him to protect you. Because you're going to need it. That evening, I waited until my father left for evening prayers at the mosque. Khalid and Faisal went with him, as they always did. Male bonding through religious obligation. My mother was in her room. I knocked softly. Ummi? Can I come in? She opened the door. Her eyes were red and swollen. She'd been crying. Again. I'm leaving tomorrow night, I told her. I wanted to say goodbye. She pulled me into her room. closed the door. And then she did something she hadn't done since I was a child. She held me. Really held me. Like she couldn't bear to let go. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed into my shoulder. "I should have protected you better. Should have been stronger. Should have. Ummy, you gave me the Bible. You gave me truth. You saved my life. And now you're losing everything because of it." "No." I pulled back, looked her in the eyes. "I'm gaining everything. I'm free, Ummy. Really free. And I wish—" My voice broke. "I wish you could come with me." She shook her head. "I'm too old. Too afraid. Too trapped. But you're young. You can start over. You can live the life I never had." She went to her dresser. Pulled out an envelope. "This is everything I've saved over the years. Money your father gave me for household expenses that I hid. It's not much. Maybe $8,000 US dollars. But it's yours. Ummy, I can't. Take it. Please. Let me help you. Let me do one brave thing in my cowardly life." I took the envelope. Felt the weight of it. It was hope. It was freedom. It was a mother's love expressed in the only way she knew how. "There's something else," she said quietly. "Your passport. It's in your father's safe. I know you know the combination. I've seen you watch him. But you can't go in there while he's home. Tomorrow night, during Maghrib prayers, he'll be gone for 45 minutes. That's when you take it. That's when you run. He'll find out. He'll know you helped." She smiled. Sad but certain. "I know. And I'll finally tell him the truth. That I've believed in Jesus for 25 years. That I gave you the Bible. That I'd do it all again." She touched my face. "Maybe I'll finally have the courage to choose Jesus publicly too. You've shown me it's possible. Even if it costs everything. Ummy. Go with God, Habibti. Go with Yeshua. And when you're safe, when you're free, pray for me. Pray that I'll find the courage to follow you." We held each other and cried. Two women. Two believers. One finding freedom, one still trapped. But both of us touched by a God who sees. Who cares? Who rescues? The next evening, I executed the plan. Maghrib prayers. My father, brothers, gone to the mosque. 45 minutes. I went to his office. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. I went to the safe. Entered the combination with shaking fingers. It opened. Inside, passports for the whole family. I found mine. Grabbed it. Also found about $3,000 in US cash, emergency money my father kept. I took it. He owed me that much at least. I closed the safe. Left everything else exactly as it was. Then I went to my room. Changed into travel clothes, modest but not restrictive. Put my hijab on properly. Became invisible. Just another Muslim woman going about her business. I called the number Saudi Sister 47 had given me. I have my passport. What now? There's a car waiting 3 blocks from your house. Black sedan. License plate ends in 742. Driver is Christian, Underground Network. He'll take you to Bahrain. Border crossing is at midnight. You'll go through as a tourist visiting family. From Bahrain, you fly to Turkey. From Turkey, you apply for asylum in Canada. I've already contacted people who will help you. But you need to leave now. How do I repay you? How do I? You don't. Someone helped me. I help you. You help the next girl. That's how we survive. Now go. And may your Jesus protect you. She hung up. I grabbed my suitcase. One last look at my room. My gilded cage. My prison. And then I walked out. Down the marble stairs. Through the hallway lined with family photos that no longer included me. Past my mother's room, her door was cracked open. She saw me. Nodded once. Pressed her hand to her heart. I love you. Go. Be free. I walked out the front door. No one stopped me. The security guard was at his post, but he saw a woman in hijab with luggage and assumed I had permission. That's how strictly we were controlled, he didn't even question it. 3 blocks. I walked in heels on uneven pavement. Every car that passed made me jump. Every person who looked at me felt like a threat. And then I saw it. Black sedan. License plate ending in 742. The driver, an older man, kind eyes, got out and opened the door. Amira? Yes. Get in. Quickly. I got in. He put my suitcase in the trunk. Started driving. And just like that, I was leaving Riyadh. Leaving my family. Leaving everything. Are you Christian? I asked him as we drove toward the highway. For 30 years, he said quietly. Secret believer. I help people like you escape. It's dangerous. But it's what Jesus would do. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet. We still have to get past the border. If they search the car, if they question you, if anything goes wrong. I know. He looked at me in the rearview mirror. You must really believe. To risk all this. I thought of Jesus in my room. The Bible that wouldn't burn. My mother's tears. The freedom I felt even in the middle of terror. I do, I said. I really do. We drove through the night. Toward the border. Toward Bahrain. Toward freedom. And I prayed the entire way. Not ritual prayers. Not memorized verses. Just Jesus. 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 Please. Please get me through this. At 11:47 p.m., we reached the King Fahd Causeway, the bridge connecting Saudi Arabia to Bahrain. The border checkpoint loomed ahead. Lights. Guards. Interrogation rooms. This was it. If they flagged me, if my father had reported me missing, if anything went wrong. The driver handed me my passport. Be calm. Be confident. You're just visiting family in Bahrain. You'll return in 3 days. Simple story. Don't volunteer extra information. We pulled up to the checkpoint. Guard leaned down. Looked at me. At my passport. Purpose of travel? Visiting family, sir. How long? 3 days. He looked at my passport again. Looked at me. My heart stopped. And then he stamped it. Handed it back. Next. We drove through. I was out. I was actually out of Saudi Arabia. I started crying. Couldn't help it. Silent tears streaming down my face. Thank you, Jesus, I whispered. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The driver smiled. He's faithful. Always. In Bahrain, I said goodbye to the driver. Caught a cab to the airport. Bought a ticket to Istanbul using my mother's money. Walked through security with my Wont suitcase and the Bible that wouldn't burn hidden in my clothes. And at 6 a.m., I boarded a plane for the first time without a male guardian. For the first time as a free woman. For the first time as a follower of Jesus. As the plane lifted off, I looked out the window at the desert below. At the country that had been my prison. At the life I was leaving behind. And I felt his presence. That warmth. That peace. I told you I'd be with you. I never break my promises. I'd lost everything. My family. My name. My country. My inheritance. Everything. And I'd gained everything that mattered. I was free. I was his. And nothing could take that away. I've been in Canada for 18 months now. 18 months since I stepped off that plane in Turkey, walked into the UNHCR office with trembling hands, and said the words that changed everything. My name is Amira Al-Mansour. I'm a convert from Islam to Christianity. I'm seeking asylum because my life is in danger. 18 months since I sat in a sterile office, telling my story to a caseworker who'd heard 1,000 stories like mine but still looked moved. Since I showed her the Bible that wouldn't burn, she held it, examined it, and whispered, "This is remarkable." 18 months since I was placed in a refugee shelter in Istanbul, sharing a room with 3 other women fleeing persecution. One from Iran. One from Afghanistan. One from Syria. All of us ex-Muslims. All of us following Jesus. All of us waiting to find out if we'd be granted asylum or sent back to die. We prayed together every night. Out loud. Without fear. For the first time in our lives. It took 7 months for my asylum claim to be processed. 7 months of living in limbo. Not knowing if Canada would accept me or if I'd be stuck in Turkey indefinitely. 7 months of checking my phone obsessively for emails from the immigration office. And then it came. The email that made me collapse on the floor sobbing. Your application for refugee protection has been accepted. Welcome to Canada. I landed in Toronto on a freezing January morning. I'd never seen snow before, not real snow. In Saudi Arabia, the desert is hot and dry and endless. But here, everything was white. Clean. New. A woman from a Christian refugee organization met me at the airport. Her name was Grace, actually Grace, and she hugged me like we were old friends even though we'd never met. "Welcome home, Amira," she said. Home. I'd never had a home. Just a palace that was a prison. But she was right. This was home. Because this was where I could be free. Let me be honest with you about something. Because I think if you're watching this, you need to hear the truth, not just the victorious parts. The first 6 months in Canada were the hardest of my life. Harder than the confrontation with my father. Harder than the escape. Harder than the waiting. Because I'd lost everything. Everything. I couldn't contact my mother. My father had discovered I'd fled and, according to Haya, who risked everything to message me once, he'd been enraged. My mother had confessed her role in my escape, and her own faith in Jesus. My father divorced her. Cast her out. She was living with distant relatives, disgraced and alone. I'd destroyed her life trying to save my own. My brothers posted on social media that I was dead to them. That I'd betrayed Islam and dishonored the family. That if they ever saw me again, they'd fulfill their duty. I was completely cut off. No family. No connections. No support system. And I was in a foreign country where I barely spoke the language fluently, where the culture was completely alien, where I knew no one. I lived in a tiny apartment provided by the refugee program. 1 room. Shared bathroom down the hall. I worked at a grocery store stocking shelves for minimum wage, me, who'd grown up with servants and drivers and designer clothes. I was lonely. Devastatingly lonely. I'd wake up at 3 a.m., the same time my father had confronted me, and I'd panic. Wondering if I'd made a mistake. Wondering if freedom was worth this crushing isolation. Wondering if Jesus was still there or if I'd imagined everything. There were nights I cried so hard I made myself sick. Nights I wanted to give up. To go back. To recant everything and beg my father's forgiveness. But then I'd open the Bible. The one that wouldn't burn. And I'd read. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. Psalm 46. And I'd remember, Jesus hadn't promised me an easy life. He'd promised me his life. His presence. Himself. And slowly, things started to change. Grace connected me with a church. A small community church in Toronto with a lot of immigrants and refugees. People from all over the world who'd left everything to follow Jesus. The first Sunday I walked in, I was terrified. I'd never been inside a church before. Didn't know what to do. Didn't know the songs or the customs or the etiquette. But when the worship started, when I heard people singing about Jesus with joy and freedom and love, I broke down. Right there in the back row. Just sobbed. Because this was what I'd been searching for my entire life. Not ritual. Not rules. Not fear-based submission. But worship. Real worship. From hearts that were free. An older woman sat down next to me. Put her arm around me. Didn't say anything. Just held me while I cried. Her name was Margaret. She became my Canadian grandmother. She invited me to her home for dinner. Taught me how to cook Western food. helped me improve my English, listened to my story without judgment, prayed with me, loved me. "You're not alone anymore, dear," she told me one evening over tea. "You have a family now. The family of God. And we don't abandon our own." And she was right. The church became my family. They helped me find a better job, helped me enroll in college to finish my degree, celebrated my first Christmas. I'd never celebrated anything like it before. The joy, the lights, the remembrance of God becoming human to save us. I was experiencing life for the first time. Real life. Not the half-life I'd lived in Saudi Arabia. I got baptized 6 months after arriving in Canada. Full immersion. In front of the whole church. I wore white, the same color Jesus wore when he appeared in my room. The pastor asked me, "Amira, do you confess Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior?" "I do. With everything I am." "Do you renounce your former life and embrace your new identity as a daughter of God?" "I do." He lowered me into the water. For a moment, I was submerged. Buried. The old Amira, the slave, the prisoner, the terrified girl, dying. And then he raised me up. I broke through the surface, gasping, water streaming down my face. New. Reborn. Resurrected. The church erupted in applause and cheers. Margaret was crying. Grace was crying. I was crying. Because I wasn't just a refugee anymore. I wasn't just an ex-Muslim or an apostate or a fugitive. I was a child of God. Baptized. Sealed. His forever. I started sharing my testimony. First at my church. Then at other churches. Then online. My story spread, the Saudi princess who encountered Jesus, whose Bible wouldn't burn, who escaped and found freedom. I get messages now. Dozens every week. From Muslim women around the world who are searching. Questioning. Desperate for truth. They tell me they've been praying to Allah and hearing nothing. They tell me they're being forced into marriages. They tell me they're suffocating under hijabs and restrictions and rules that promise paradise but deliver only prison. And they ask me, "Is Jesus real? Did he really appear to you? Will he accept me if I come to him?" And I tell them, yes. Yes. 1,000 times yes. Jesus is real. More real than anything you've ever known. He's not distant. He's not silent. He's not a harsh judge waiting to punish you. He's a father who loves you. A savior who died for you. A friend who will never leave you. And he's waiting. Right now. For you to call his name. I want to talk to you now. Directly. Whether you're Muslim or atheist or Christian or confused or broken or searching. If you're watching this, it's not an accident. God doesn't do accidents. You're here because he's been pursuing you. Calling you. Drawing you to himself. Maybe you're like I was. Going through the motions of religion but feeling empty inside. Praying but hearing silence. Following rules but finding no peace. Maybe you've been hurt by religion. By people who claimed to represent God but showed you cruelty instead of love. Maybe you've tried everything: meditation, philosophy, self-help, success, relationships, and you're still searching for something to fill the void. Listen to me carefully, that void was made for Jesus. Only Jesus. Nothing else will ever satisfy it. The Quran tells you to work your way to God. 5 pillars. Rituals. Rules. And even then, no guarantee of paradise. But Jesus? Jesus came to you. He left heaven. Became human. Lived a perfect life you couldn't live. Died a death you deserved. Rose again to prove he conquered death. And he offers you, right now, right here, complete forgiveness. Complete acceptance. Complete salvation. Not because you earned it. Because he loves you. Romans 5 verse 8 says, "But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." While you were still a sinner. Not after you cleaned up. Not after you proved yourself worthy. While you were broken and lost and far from him. He loved you enough to die for you anyway. And now he's offering you his hand. Just like he offered it to me in my room. Just like he offered it to me in my dream. Palm up. Inviting. Not forcing. Not demanding. Inviting. Will you take it? If you're Muslim and you're afraid, I understand. I was terrified too. I know what you risk. Family. Culture. Community. Maybe your life. But let me tell you what you gain: freedom. Peace. Joy. Purpose. Eternal life. A relationship with the God who knows your name and loves you completely. Jesus said in John 10 verse 10, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life, and have it to the full." Full life. Not half-life. Not existence. Life. That's what he's offering you. And yes, it will cost you. It cost me everything. But I'd make the same choice 1,000 times over. Because what I gained in Jesus is worth infinitely more than what I lost. If you're atheist or agnostic and you think this is all fantasy, I get it. I would have thought the same thing before it happened to me. But I'm asking you to do what I did: test him. Challenge him. Pray to him honestly. Say, "Jesus, if you're real, show me. I'm willing to believe if you prove yourself." He'll answer. Maybe not the way you expect. Maybe not immediately. But he will answer. Because he's not afraid of your questions. He's not threatened by your doubts. He welcomes seekers. Always has. And if you're Christian but you've been lukewarm, going through the motions, playing church, believing intellectually but not living radically, I'm asking you, is your faith worth dying for? Because there are people around the world dying for this faith right now. Being persecuted. Martyred. Tortured for the name of Jesus. And if it's not worth dying for, is it worth living for? Jesus didn't die on the cross so you could have comfortable, mediocre, Sunday-only Christianity. He died so you could have resurrection life. Abundant life. Dangerous, radical, world-changing life. Don't waste it. I'm going to pray now. And if you want to give your life to Jesus, if you want to experience what I've experienced, if you want to know him personally, I'm inviting you to pray with me. Don't wait. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. I've learned that the hard way. This moment, right now, is your moment. Your invitation. Your chance. Take it. Let's pray. Jesus, I come to you now. Broken. Searching. Maybe afraid. But willing. I confess that I'm a sinner. I've tried to save myself and failed. I've tried to fill the void with everything except you. And I'm tired. I'm done running. I believe you're the Son of God. That you died on the cross for my sins. That you rose again. That you're alive right now, listening to this prayer. I'm asking you, begging you, to save me. To forgive me. To make me new. Come into my heart. Take my life. All of it. The good, the bad, the broken pieces. It's yours. I surrender. Completely. I choose you. No matter what it costs. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for dying for me. Thank you for accepting me just as I am. I'm yours now. Forever. In Jesus' name, amen. If you prayed that prayer, if you meant it, you're saved. Right now. This moment. Not because you said magic words. Because you surrendered to Jesus. And he never rejects anyone who comes to him in faith. You're born again. You're a new creation. You're a child of God. Welcome to the family. Now listen. This isn't the end. It's the beginning. And you need to do a few things. First, find a church. You can't do this alone. You need community. You need other believers to encourage you, teach you, support you. Second, read the Bible. Start with the Gospel of John. Let Jesus speak to you through his word. Every single day. Third, pray. Not ritual prayers. Real conversation. Tell Jesus everything. He wants to hear from you. Fourth, tell someone. You need accountability. Find someone you trust and tell them, I gave my life to Jesus. Say it out loud. Make it real. Fifth, get baptized. It's your public declaration that you belong to Jesus now. It's important. Don't skip it. And if you're ex-Muslim and you're in danger, if you need help escaping, if you need resources, if you need someone who understands, there are organizations that help. I'll put links in the description below this video. You're not alone. There's a whole network of believers who've walked this path. Who will help you? Who will protect you? Reach out. Don't try to do this alone. My name is Amira. I was born in a golden cage in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I was raised to submit, to obey, to disappear. But Jesus found me. Called me by name. Set me free. I lost my family, my country, my wealth, my security. Everything. And I gained everything that matters. I have peace now. Joy. Purpose. A relationship with the God of the universe who knows me and loves me. I have a future. Not as someone's wife or someone's property. but as a daughter of the King. And one day soon, I'll see Jesus face to face. Not in a dream or a vision, but in reality. In heaven. Where there's no more tears, no more pain, no more persecution. Where I'll be fully home. Finally home. But until then, I'm going to keep telling my story. Keep reaching Muslim women who are trapped like I was. Keep pointing people to Jesus. Because he's worth it. He's worth everything. And if I could go back, knowing everything I'd lose, everything I'd suffer, everything I'd sacrifice, I'd still choose him. Every single time. So here's my final question for you. Will you choose him? Will you take his hand? Will you step out of your cage into freedom? The cost is high. I won't lie to you. But the reward is eternal. And he's waiting. Right now. For you. Don't make him wait anymore. Choose Jesus. Choose life. Choose freedom. And I'll see you in eternity. Where we'll worship together. Free forever. In Jesus' name. Amen.